World News right here on Voice of the People 90.3 FM. My name is Esther Wachuku and these are the top stories. NLC insists on indefinite strike. Atiku accuses Tinubu of lying about fuel subsidy removal. Benue State Information Commissioner kidnapped. Fire guards Supreme Court building. Kogi Governor Yahaya Bello sacks aide. Details now. The news begins with the Nigerian Labour Congress on Sunday insisting on embarking on an indefinite strike across the country. The NLC President Ijeoma Egwuatu stated this while speaking on a monitored program, expressing further that the union may declare strike by midnight on Tuesday. According to Egwuatu, the federal government had more than enough time to resolve the dispute and address the concerns of the labour union within a few days, which was stipulated for it. Also, the NLC had condemned the federal government for not providing means to relieve the effect of fuel subsidy removal. Stipulating further, Egwuatu during the interview said every Nigerian compulsorily would have expected by now a concrete result on the federal government labor negotiations on palliatives. When asked if he was confident that the planned indefinite strike would be successful, Egwuatu said the earlier warning strike achieved about 80% success despite efforts to sabotage it. Egwuatu accused the federal government of trying to undermine the strike, demonize the NLC leadership, as well as create division among the trade unions. He added that if such time and effort were used to seek a solution, it would have been found and the problem would have been solved. NLC said the mission of the labor movement was to help the poor. The NLC president also reacted to the concerns of the Nigeria Employers Consultative Association and Manufacturers Association over the negative effect of the strike on businesses and the national economy. Now, Egwuatu stipulating further said NECA should not be saying that the strike would affect the economy when the economy had already been destroyed. Concerning the concern expressed by the Manufacturing Association of Nigeria, Egwuatu said, and I quote, "I don't know if anything is still being manufactured with the situation of things in the country, with the energy cost going up. I don't know what is being manufactured and what is being sold. This is the worry we must all embark on and address the issue, including the energy cost to enable them to manufacture very well because of the manufacturers at a higher cost without recourse to the impact on consumers who are mainly workers that will no longer buy these products due to lack of purchasing power." He stated further that I don't think that the Manufacturing Association of Nigeria has equally made an effort to find out how to solve this problem. They have not complained about the high energy cost and they don't even know how workers struggle to come to work, which is very important. End quote. Now, former Vice President Atiku has accused President Bola Ahmed Tinubu of lying to Nigerians about fuel subsidy removal. In a statement by his Special Assistant on Public Communication, Frank Shaibu, Atiku said the federal government is still subsidizing fuel despite Tinubu's claim in his inaugural speech that fuel subsidy had been removed. He said with oil price now selling at $94 per barrel and Naira exchanging at roughly $1,000 Naira per barrel, it is obvious that the federal government is paying some money to keep the price of fuel at 620 Naira per litre in the country. Atiku also accused Tinubu of running a clownish government despite his promise to Nigerians in his inaugural speech to serve with prejudice towards none. He alleged that Tinubu is running a government of the clownish, by the clownish and for the clownish, pointing out that all key appointments he made in the Central Bank of Nigeria, Federal Inland Revenue Service, Customs, Army, Police, Immigration went to his own part of the country, while he himself is a petroleum and gas minister. You would recall that Tinubu appointed 10 ministers from the southwest and only 5 from the southeast. If this isn't prejudice, I don't know what it is." End quote. Atiku said he has been justified when he raised the alarm that the $3 billion loan the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited claimed to have obtained from Afrexim to stabilize the naira was a ruse. Elsewhere, the Benue State Commissioner of Information, Culture and Tourism, Matthew Abo, has been abducted by gunmen from his residence in Zaki Biam Ukum local government area of the state on Sunday night. In case you do not know, the commissioner was sworn in as a member of the Benue State Executive Council on August 29, 2023. He hails from Ukum local government area, which has been a major flashpoint of criminal activities. Witnesses disclosed that the commissioner was abducted by gunmen who rode on 4 motorcycles in his house in Zakibiam. The gunmen ordered everyone, including his wife and children, to lie down, after which they took him away to an unknown destination on one of the motorcycles. The chief press secretary to the state governor, Hyacinth Alea Kula Tesu, confirmed the incident, saying that unfortunately the commissioner was kidnapped in his country home in Ukum local government area around 8 p.m. on Sunday, September 24, 2023. And still on the world news at 12, the fire outbreak this morning occurred at the Supreme Court of Nigeria, R3M zone in Abuja, destroying some parts of the federal institution. VOP News gathered that the mysterious fire burnt down the offices of some justices and forced some occupants of the building to scamper for safety. As of the time of filing this report, 3 justices' offices have already been razed completely, and the fire is still spreading. The sad incident comes days after the 2023 presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, and his counterpart in the Labour Party, Peter Obi, filed their cases at the Apex Court seeking a nullification of the presidential election petitions court. You do recall that the Presidential Tribunal on the 6th of September 2023 upheld the declaration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the winner of the 2023 presidential elections. Atiku, in the notice of appeal, predicated on 35 grounds, insisted that the tribunal in the judgment delivered by Justice Haruna Simon Samani committed grave error and miscarriage of justice in its findings and conclusion in the petition challenging the National Independent Electoral Commission (INEC). Also, they challenged the declaration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu being declared by INEC as the president. The notice of appeal, just filed by Atiku's lead counsel, Chief Chris Uche, a senior advocate of Nigeria, is spurring the Supreme Court to set aside the whole findings and conclusions of the tribunal on the grounds that they do not represent the true picture of the grounds of his petition. Now, in another development, Governor Yahaya Bello of Kogi State on Monday announced the sacking of his special advisor on stakeholders relations, Mr. Anthony Oga. The sack was contained in a statement issued by Mrs. Falashade Arike Ayoade, a secretary to the government of Kogi. The government said that the sack takes effect from Sunday, which was September 24. Governor Bello has issued a directive for the immediate dismissal of Oga, who served as a special advisor to the governor on stakeholders relations. The termination of Oga as a special advisor to the governor is effective from September 24. Governor Bello extends his best wishes to Oga in his future endeavors, the state government disclosed recently. He also instructed to promptly hand over his identity card and any other government property or documents in his possession to the Permanent Secretary, Administration, the office of the Secretary to the government of the state. You're currently listening to the World News at 12 right here in Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. And we will definitely be having a conversation with an analyst who is a legal practitioner and a social commentator. His name is Darlington. Mr. Darlington will help us bring to light or give us an in-depth perception of two prominent issues that we need to talk about on the World News at 12. At the moment, Mr. Darlington, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Indicate, please, if you can hear me. Hello? Hello, Mr. Darlington. Okay, thank you for joining us. Mr. Darlington, unfortunately, the Supreme Court caught fire this morning, and a lot of persons were concerned when they heard about that particular fire. Apparently, the fire has gutted 3 offices of the justices in the Supreme Court. Now, you do know that the Supreme Court, in the next couple of days, which is within 60 days, they're meant to finally decide appropriately who actually won the February 25 elections. The Labour Party and the PDP have filed their appeal of notice to the Supreme Court, and hearing about this fire, a couple of persons or critics have actually begun to talk about conspiracy, that this was a deliberate attempt to burn down the offices of the Justice of the Supreme Court to delay the final judgment. Do you think there is any truth in this particular a conspiracy theory already circulating since that building caught fire today?
Thank you, Esther. You see, matters like this, I cannot speculate. Neither can you do a guesswork. Even if you want to accuse anybody, you must have your facts. But if the coincidence is too close, very, very close, you know, why Supreme Court in the first place? Why Supreme Court? And with a very serious matter at hand, that fire shouldn't have occurred.
Okay.
And yes, it shouldn't have occurred. So I expect the government or the agencies to investigate what happened. They should find out the source of this fire, because it is very, very mysterious. Remember, when AIT wanted to do a documentary, countdown to 2015 elections, the Lion of Bodilon and the Essential Buhari, they were airing that documentary. You know, when Tinubu and Buhari went to court to stop them, immediately after that, a mysterious fire caught that station.
Okay.
That same station. Now, if you go back over the years in Nigeria, whenever there is something serious going on in any government department, like an NPC powers at Palomo, you know, 910 at Marina,
right,
these things always occur. And because nobody has been brought to book, it has been going on. Why is it that whenever there is a serious national issues pertaining to a particular government institution, this type of thing will occur, and nobody is held accountable at the end of the day? It's strange. Seriously, it's strange. Let them find out, because as of that, nobody was caught. You cannot accuse anybody. But behind this thing that happened, there is something in it. There is something in it. So
you feel that there is something behind this, the unfortunate incident that occurred today. You don't want to tie to mere coincidence?
No, it's not. From one indication, it cannot be a mere coincidence. Because look at it yourself now. This thing has been going on. I've given you instances.
Okay.
It always happens when there is a serious issues.
All right.
Why is this so? Yeah, why is this so?
Okay.
That's my question. Why is this so? Whenever we have any serious issue in any government institution, this will always happen. And I'm giving you instances here.
Okay.
And at the end of the day, nobody is held accountable.
All right. Mr. Darlington, okay, sir, from October, in a couple of days, the FBI, you will recall, in the course of the month, earlier this month, said that from October, 2,500 documents of the president will be released. and everything that concerns the president, whatever dealings he has with the United States, and any other records they feel deemed fit to be in the public notice will be released. Now, apparently from October, 500 of the documents will be released each month. So in October, you have 500. In November, you have 500. In December, you have 500. In January 2024, you have 500. And in February 2024, you have 500. So in the space of approximately 5 months, 2,500 of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's details will be released by the FBI. Now, there is a situation whereby there could be an injunction or to file an appeal to the FBI not to do so, just like the emergency appeal that was filed by the president on September 21 or 22, stopping the magistrate court in the US to stay on the order whereby they asked that the CSU should release documents of the president to Atiku Abubakar. And a couple of persons have said, with all of this imbroglio ongoing, you now have the Supreme Court catching fire at this particular moment. Do you see any relative activity in that regard? That's one question. Number two, the question is, at this point in time for the Atiku Abubakar camp, what difference will this make while he's pursuing this? And will the FBI not rather listen to his appeal and not release those documents as they said they would?
You see, the American government, they are not as clean as people claim they are.
Okay.
They claim to be the champion of democracy and leader of the free world. But at times, the way they behave when matters of this nature come up is very strange. Seriously, very, very strange. In the first place, you remember how long we have been asking the US to release this document concerning Tinubu? They have been dilly-dallying. All of a sudden, because of pressure,
all right,
they now agreed, and they are not doing it in piecemeal.
In piecemeal?
Why 500? Yes, why 500 pages every month? If they release it under 1 week, what will happen?
Well, I think they want to be accurate, so they feel that if they release all of them at once, it will be difficult for anyone who wants to go through it in the space of time. So 500 each month. But then there is a possibility that an appeal could be filed to stop the FBI from doing so. And the question now, would the FBI actually, stay on with that appeal? For his documents not to be released.
The FBI actually need to appeal against it.
Okay.
Yeah, because they are duty bound to do what they are supposed to do. They are duty bound. It is their job. If they now succumb, when anybody says you should not do, they now sorry. That means the FBI is no longer the FBI that I used to know. They should appeal it because it has to do with public concern, public interest.
Okay.
They have no other duty than to release those documents. They have to go to court and then vacate that appeal. That is what I think they should do. But if they now say, okay, because court has said, that means ab initio they never wanted to release those documents.
But on September 12th, the report came where they said the move was an unexpected one based on the announcement from the FBI, whereby the idea is to release everything concerning his sojourn in the United States, information about him in its database will be released. Now, according to the filing, the document will be released in tranches starting from the end of October in response to a Freedom of Information Act, and the request was actually filed by an Aaron Greenspan, who runs a Plain Sight, which is a website that pushes anti-corruption and transparency in the public service. So the Secret Service claimed to have over 2,500 documents relating to him in its database, which is planned to release in batches. Now, the online medium is citing in a new court filing it claimed to have just obtained that the FBI plans to release those pages, 500 pages per month of information relating to the president in its custody. So the question is, of what use, though, will these documents be? That's number one. Number two, by the time the FBI wants to release all those documents, it is expected that possibly we should have come to a conclusion at the Supreme Court. There may be no more new evidence to be tendered or any new motion to be tendered by any of the defendants, that is the Labour Party and the PDP. They are the petitioners now, or rather the appellants appealing the judgment of the Presidential Election Petition Court. So the question is, of what benefit would it be if these documents are being released in tranches, as the FBI stated? And do you think if the president's cabinet or his legal team files for a stay for those documents not to be released, that there is a possibility that the FBI may eventually announce a stay on it, or possibly the Privacy Act would supersede or whatever it is the FBI eventually disclosed?
You see, I am very, very sure that Tinubu's lawyers, they should know better.
They should know better in what sense, please?
Yes,
explain.
They are racing against time. This is a criminal matter.
Okay.
It does not die.
When you say when you say a criminal matter, the FBI is not saying they have anything about negative about him in mind. Since the Freedom of Information Act has been put out and an appeal has been found for his documents to be released, being the fact that he's a public person, he's a public servant, so it is understandable for any of his data to be out in the public space. I think that is within the context that those documents are being asked to be released. Basically, if he was a private citizen, possibly this wouldn't be important. So it could just be anything, not necessarily anything indicting about the documents that may be released. So in what way could you consider it a criminal matter?
No, Esther, look, the FBI, they are not stupid though. They heard what is going on at CSU.
Okay.
They are aware of what is going on there concerning this same man. All the media houses in the US, they are on this man's case. So the FBI are passing on all these information. So if you now want to cover this information, the American public, they will see FBI in a different light. That's why I'm telling you that they have no other choice than to release these documents. They will go to court and tell the court, just like they told Tinubu's lawyers in CSU matter, that Atiku has satisfied all the reasons why they should release the documents to him. The same way, the FBI should go to court and tell the court why they should release these documents. That is the truth. If not, the FBI will be seen to be covering up a criminal matter.
Okay.
Because for all indication, it is no longer a civil matter. I don't see why anybody should. Yes, American government is not to be spending billions of dollars fighting drugs all over the world. And when you have somebody who is suspected to be a drug dealer and all that, you cannot cover. You have to bring everything to the open.
All right, sir. Now,
for too long.
Okay, so Mr. Darlington, we're actually running out of time. Don't you think it's pretty much a little bit, if the conspiracy theorists who have, eventually expressed themselves concerning the fire that took place at the Supreme Court today? 3 offices of the justices have been burnt down. 3 offices of the Supreme Court justices have been burnt down, and it's the PDP and the Labour Party have actually filed their documents. They filed their own petition to the Supreme Court. So would you understand the train of thoughts the conspiracy theories were coming from?
I have told you, it is very, very obvious. Remember, under the first month of Tinubu's presidency, something happened at EFCC. There was a midnight raid at EFCC office where all the important documents concerning Tinubu's matter in that office was taken away.
Are you talking about the clash that the DSS and the EFCC had at the EFCC office?
Yeah, whereby the offices were raided. And why particularly those things that had to do with Tinubu. So what happened at the Supreme Court? It is not here for the Nigerian people or even the courts to look at it critically and see what is behind it. Because I cannot say government now, because Tinubu is the government now. I don't think he will be willing to probe what happened there. I don't think so.
All right, Mr. Darlington, I expect an investigation to commence immediately as to what the cause of the fire is.
He cannot comment immediately. Esther.
Why? Why do you say so? Three offices of the justices have been completely raised down. Based on the latest report, 3 of the offices have been completely raised down. So there needs to be an investigation. How a fire all of a sudden just erupted. Could it be carelessness from any of the maintenance officers in the building? Could it be the fact that any of the officials did not take note of? Could it be an electricity surge? It could be anything, though. It's just that at this point in time, the Supreme Court is the focal point, and all of a sudden, the office has caught fire.
What happened there? Just like you mentioned conspiracy theory, I cannot rule it out. I have given you instances here. I cannot rule it out. This is all part of a way to intimidate the Supreme Court judges.
Okay.
It's all part of way to delay justice. Remember that the same thing was going on in the U.S., whereby somebody is telling the U.S. court to delay. They didn't say you should not delay. That means what happened in Nigeria is a way to delay justice. So that by the time you now say, okay, events would have overtaken whatever you want to investigate.
All right, Mr. Darlington, at the moment, no, we've not heard of any recorded casualty. Thank God for that. It's just the building. So even if the building caught fire,
the casualty here is the important document. So that's the casualty. Yes.
The important documents.
Yeah, the important that we have gone down. That's
okay. It is expected that the Labour Party and the PDP should also have their copies of the documents tendered. So if peradventure, unfortunately, it got burnt in this particular fire.
Their lawyers should have. Yes, their lawyers should have copies.
Exactly. So every copy.
They will settle down.
Okay.
They will settle down. Yes, because every matter in court has a timeline.
All right.
Especially electoral matters. It has last timeline. That is what all this is all about.
Okay.
By the time they will settle down, review the cause, even we are talking about shortage of justice in the Supreme Court, and now this one is happening. So by the time they settle down and start realizing all these things, what do you think would have happened? Are you going to rewrite the constitution to accommodate all these delays? It's not possible. So you can see why this thing is, why I'm still suspecting that something is wrong somewhere there.
Well, Mr. Darlington, don't you think that even if the building caught fire, that there are other spaces through which the hearing can take place, not necessarily, at the Supreme Court? There is a possibility that an emergency ground can be set. Okay. Yes.
Esther. We are not talking of city. We are talking of those documents.
Well, like you just said, each of those appealing at the moment at the Supreme Court should have backups of those documents. So whatever it is, whatever.
It is not as easy as they are saying it, though, because there are so many things involved before the Supreme Court can sit over a matter. It's not a question of carrying file or not. There are other things that have to be done. If those things are not recollected and all that, all the reports, everything that has to do with it, it's not just a day matter now. It's not possible. So all these things it can delay the judgment on this matter. It can delay it, and that means it's not concerned with what Tinubu is doing in the US, whereby he's asking them to stay execution. You can see now, it's a coincidence here.
Well,
the game is to delay matter. I don't know how long it will delay it. That's why I told you that the lawyers are running against time, because eventually these things will come up. And when it come up, any other person can use it against Tinubu anytime, any day, even if this matter has elapsed.
Well, today there is a hearing today at the U.S. District Court today to hear the case between Atiku Abubakar and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu concerning the appeal for a stay on his records, his credentials to be released to Atiku Abubakar. So possibly by this evening we should get an update on that particular hearing. If the judges, the court there would insist that those documents be released to Atiku Abubakar, or possibly stay on with the plea of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to put a stay on his documents being released. However, the case at the Supreme Court, the unfortunate incident at the Supreme Court, I expect that an emergency investigation should be carried out. However, the process of the Supreme Court ruling within the stipulated 60-day period, do you think that this will be an impediment to that?
It is now. It is. If it is delayed, it is. That's what they're working on. That all this delay in the US is all about delaying justice here in Nigeria. There is no other reason. He didn't say that they should not. He said they should be delay it. Then why the delay? That is the question you and I should be asking him, so that he will buy enough time when this other matter in Nigeria would have been overtaken by events. So even if I people bring it now, the Supreme Court may say, well, you know, we have ruled on this matter, except if they are going to reopen the case, which is more time for Tinubu and Asoro. That's what we are saying here. Even if you want to bring the documents now, that means you are going to start afresh based on the new evidence you have against him. And that it will be buying time again. That's what we are saying here. So it is not good for us at all. This is not the democracy we champion for. I'm telling you, I don't know where all the human rights organizations have gone over this matter. I don't know why Nigeria is over this matter. We are being embarrassed all over the world as I speak to you now. It's like nobody's in Nigeria. It's like no lawyers. All the human rights, where are they? Those who want to save Nigeria in 2012, where are they now? The time to save Nigeria is now. The time to save Nigeria is now. This embarrassment is too much. Because of one man, everything about us has gone down the drain. Is it Nigeria or somebody's estate?
Well,
this Nigeria doesn't belong to one man. You colonize Lagos, you have to colonize Nigeria again. And people are just talking and watching.
Well, Mr. Darlington, the country cannot be colonized by any individual.
It is already.
It cannot, Mr. Darlington, it cannot be colonized by any individual, and it is expected that a true justice will be served, and the Supreme Court justices will do the needful. There is a possibility that an emergency sitting can take place if the situation at the Supreme Court will cause any impediment. I do respect that backup files will be asked for, and that the stipulated period for this matter to be judged and done with would eventually. You said?
Time is oppressive. By the time they will regroup and reorganize, this is time wasting. They know what they are doing. As I'm telling you, this is time. And remember, these courts, they are not independent per se. Who will bring the money to renovate the new place and others? Who will bring the money? If they delay the money and sort of, what will you do? If they delay security for you, what will you do? You don't get it. I say you don't get it. They may make everything impossible for these judges to go elsewhere and sit. If there's no security, can they go and sit there? Who controls the police and the army? Oh my God. Look, Nigerians, you people, look, if anybody destroy this country, all of us will go down.
Nobody will destroy the country, Mr. Darlington. Thank you so much. We're not raising any tension. We just try as much as possible to talk about whatever the situation is, bring it to light, and have an in-depth analysis about it. The only thing is that once the Supreme Court situation came up today, of course, it was expected for theories to come at play that this is basically what it could be, but we are hoping and we respect that the stipulated window for this particular case to be done and dealt with will work at the time.
What if the Supreme Court come and tell you now that some of the documents they needed to do their work with, they cannot find it?
Well, like I said, Mr. Darlington, this is a digital age, and I don't think that will suffice. There should be a backup document.
Are you serious? Digital age in your country, Abi? Digital age in your court, Abi? Digital age. Are you serious? Where is the digital age in Nigeria? Where is the? If there is another glitch, like there was a glitch in
there will be no server glitch. Mr. Darlington, thank you so much. We've run out of time. I sincerely appreciate you giving me your analysis on this particular situation today. Hopefully by this evening we'll hear definitely how the ruling went. The Chicago State University, the court that is the court sitting, the hearing that is to take place today between Atiku Abubakar and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu concerning his records and credentials being released. Thank you so much, Mr. Darlington.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Now, in stories outside the shores of Nigeria, Ukraine says it destroyed 19 drones and 11 cruise missiles launched by Russia overnight, while Moscow claims its air defense systems downed drones over the Black Sea and Crimea and those headed for the Kursk and Belgorod regions. Ukraine's southern port of Odessa was hit by missiles overnight, destroying grain stores, the Ukrainian ministry recently disclosed. Furthermore, there are stipulations that Russian attacks have reportedly killed at least 2 people in Berislav, in Ukraine's Kherson Oblast. A Canadian official apologized after praising an individual who served in a Nazi unit during World War II in a session attended by Trudeau and Zelensky. To wrap up the world news at 12, here again are the top stories. You heard that NLC has insisted on an indefinite strike. Atiku accuses Tinubu of lying about fuel subsidy removal. Benue State Information Commissioner kidnapped. Fire guards Supreme Court building. Kogi Governor Yahaya Bello sacks aid. And on stories outside the shores of Nigeria, Russia-Ukraine war, overnight air attacks continue from both sides. My name is Esther Nwachukwu. Good afternoon and thank you for staying with us.